Namaste. Hi, welcome to Shaman The Mermaid. This is your astrological weather for the Virgo New Moon, which is this Thursday, September 17th, and we'll go all the way through October 1st, including the equinox.
Yay!
Yay!
We're cruising along, getting closer to election time. I think there's 48 days till election day. Not that I'm counting. But there's a lot of shift and movement happening quickly and exponentially, and it might feel like it has political agenda behind it, but it is a gentle reminder from all of the past reports that there's three big planets that are really governing a lot of energy over the collective consciousness right now, and that is Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter, and they're in this tight connection up in the sign of Capricorn. And in our last report, Jupiter went direct, and it just recently did, if you're catching this report at the beginning of it. So we have that momentum going, and in this report, another one of those big dogs, Saturn, will also go direct. And this is kind of that feeling like there's a strong pull towards much change, and there is. But remember, it's not just about that political front, which is a lot of times where our head is at. And we have on this new moon energy a theme for you to contemplate as we move towards the end of the year. We're turning the corner, as Michael mentioned. Fall Equinox falls in this report on September 22nd. We will officially be in a new season, and it's that last turn till we hit that winter solstice in December. And this last turn, like any car race or horse race, anything like that, that last leg of it is really important to keep the momentum strong and in right way, and using the force for good, so to speak. So our theme this time is in alignment more for a bigger picture, and we're using a Pablo Picasso quote that we both like a lot, and it's this: the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. And so how does that tie into the astrology today, or this next 2 weeks? Well, we start with the sun and moon in Virgo, and Virgo is a very dedicated to discernment. It likes choices. It likes to know the meaning of things. So the meaning of life is to find your gift. The first part of that quote, that would be a strong Virgo energy. So our invitation for this new moon, which is always a great time to set intention, and particularly this new moon kicks off the fall season as well, so you can not only think of it as an intention for this month cycle that it's going through, but maybe this is a new moon intention that kicks off for the beginning of this last quarter phase of our seasons. In fact, on Friday, the day after the new moon, that kicks off Rosh Hashanah in the Jewish tradition, that is symbolic of a new year, kind of beginning, a new beginning. So you could use this intention to set that tone for how we would like to go forward. And the invitation is around what's your gift, what's your purpose. And there's a couple reasons that we're focusing on purpose and meaning of life and your gift, and to give it away then at the very end of that quote. Let's first talk about the sun and moon. That's always what happens on a new moon in the sign of Virgo, as I said, and they're going to be in a nice trine with Saturn. And how does that apply to our theme?
I think it applies nicely. The sun and the moon in Virgo is an earth sign, and Saturn's in Capricorn, an earth sign. So when earth signs are making an angle, it's harmonious. And the sun, the moon is your inner self. Sun is outer self. Moon is inner self, how you talk to yourself and your feelings. It's also memories, things from the past. And the sun is presence and your heart and how you want to shine out. And so those two aspects are coming together with Saturn, which is what's your purpose? What's the meaning of life? what are you going to do about it? How are you going to give it away? And that harmonious energy between the two is, well, there could be clarity around that. It seems like you have some direction, some momentum, some movement, maybe even some resources or things are materializing around that. The sign of Capricorn has to do, one aspect of it is making things from the spiritual world real, making them materialize here, build over time, create structures, institutions, community. And so that Saturn trine the sun and the moon for the new moon, I think, helps with that building of your purpose and giving away. There's also a karmic aspect that the sun and the moon are squaring the moon's nodes. Sometimes we talk about those, and the moon's nodes are right now in the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius. The north node in Gemini is where we want to go for the future, where we're heading towards. You can also put it as the present moment. Like if we don't have a lot of shizzle from the past weighing us down, the north node is what is present now. The south node is in Sagittarius, and that's what needs to be transformed so that we can fulfill our purpose. Sometimes it can be like ripe fruit on a tree, like it's ready to pick. But that's when we've done the work. And the sun and the moon squaring that, it's that same inner and outer self squaring what we need to do and resolve around the past, the truth, coming into better faith, finding what's really of our own values. Our last report was a lot about, it was make a plan and jam, but it was about getting into what you know to be your own truth and finding your own guru. I guess we referenced that around Jupiter going direct. So this is a little bit of a karmic crossroads that says, come on, you can't go backwards. Well, you could, but that would be not good. And the intention is to go forward towards that Gemini North Node, which is investigating, finding the meaning of life, and giving it away, networking and sharing in community.
So that plays out on that September 17th when the sun and the moon are right next to each other, or your inner and outer worlds are working together. So how we talk to ourselves and how we talk to others are in alignment. They have that harmonious trine with Saturn, which is getting our shizzle together in a way, and squaring the nodes. So often the nodes are considered the nodes of fate, the past and the future. That's another term for it. And in Vedic astrology, they're known as Rahu and Ketu, if those are for more familiar terms to you. Also on that same day of the new moon, sun and moon together, is Mercury, and Mercury is going to be a big player in this report, and that's like Gemini. Mercury is all about meaning, wanting to know things, learning, acquiring information. So that's a part, because there's so many Mercury aspects in this report, that we chose that theme of the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away, because Mercury wants meaning. And so Mercury on that same day, as I was saying, September 17th, is squaring Jupiter. And remember, those can be dovetails or they can be, clashes. Mercury, that, as I said, the curious, the wanting to know, the learner, is squaring with Jupiter, which is your faith, your spirituality, your bigger knowings, your bigger vision, your bigger truth, the things that you came into this world already understanding without having to ever cracked open a book and learn it. And they're squaring, so that it might feel a little bit of like what I think I know and what is truth are not aligning. And that is really the beginning of a lot of breaking down and dissolving some of the old beliefs that we've been clinging to that are no longer serving us both individually and collectively. We hear this being reiterated all over the place from all kinds of different places, astrology, teachers. It's a message that needs to be heard, so that's why we're hearing it so much. So Mercury squaring Jupiter is saying, question what you think you know and tune into what you truly know. And then that can really work harmoniously. Like, the meaning of life is to find your gift. What is your true purpose? Have you been chasing something else, learning something else, wanting to acquire knowledge and information about something that really isn't of your purpose? That it seems more like a monetary fix or a romantic fix or a desire or passion that really doesn't serve you, that are you curious about that and it's pulling you off track, Jupiter is saying get into what really serves you. Get into what is in your spiritual aptitude. So that's the first of the squares, and there's several squares. Right after that, we move Sunday, September 20th, with another Mercury square. You want to talk about that one?
Mm-hmm. Mercury square Pluto, and Pluto represents your soul energy. What is the purpose and meaning of your life comes from the soul's intention. In this type of astrology in yoga world, and I think in lots of Mother Earth traditions, one soul chooses to come in each lifetime that it incarnates to have a specific purpose, to work on something, to grow and evolve something, and to give something back. It's kind of like the Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, like growth, sustain, and then fade away. And we offer these things up. And so Mercury is squaring that. It's the same energy that Katrina was talking about. It can be challenging, or it can be dovetailing. And Mercury is, again, what we think, what we've put together, what our mind is going at, and Pluto's the soul. This could be some time to sit and do some shadow work, as they might say, or just having a look at what your shit is the way they put it in other terms, and not turning away from it, or denying it, or even rejecting it. Like, okay, I have sadness around this, or I have grief around this, or I've been lying to myself, and I'm going to have a look at it and see why. And the old mythology that Joseph Campbell's helped us with the hero's journey is the treasure lies in the darkest cave. And so Mercury says, go in and have a look at what's in there. You might find some buried treasure. You might find the light that you've been seeking.
And then right after that, we go into autumn equinox, and that is on the 22nd of September. And it moves into the sign of Libra. And that is like balance on balance, because equinox is equal. The day and the night start to even out. We don't have these long summer days anymore. We're not quite to the darkest of our winter nights. So it's even energy. And you can feel that energetically. We start to balance out some of our own injustices, imbalances, inequities, and then the collective as well. But the energy starts to be less teeter-totter and find the fulcrum point and balance in the middle in Libra, which is balance. So that's why I say balance on balance. Libra is about relationship. You step out of that last underground astrology sign of Leo, the last phase of the transpersonal. Virgo. And we move into the first of the collective signs, and that is Libra. So you go from self to other. And so this last quarter turn of our seasons is starting to take us into how can we be of service to other? How can we step into community and bring our gift? So the second part of our theme, the purpose of life, is to give it away. The meaning of life is to find our gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. So this equinox season is saying, how can I be of service? I balance my own energies. I get my shizzle together so that I can take my purpose and share it with others. And that is a big part, we believe anyway, of what we see as going forward in this new way of coexisting, is less about the self, less about selfish needs and desires and wants, and more about how can I be of my highest potential? How can I be in my full purpose? And then turn around and give that to the good of the whole, to help lift everybody up. As Ram Dass says, we're all walking each other home. And so this seasonal shift is really kind of symbolic of where we could take our energies as a collective and move forward, and tying it back into that political piece with a lot of head and intellect and forethought into the election coming up. Use this equinox energy of turning our energy into a more balanced state for the good of the whole, more utilitarian. would be how I would say approach the voting season. Who's holding those ideals? Who is looking out for the best interest of everybody when you go in to vote, if we're going to throw the political piece in there. I feel like we have a little bit of a duty, all of us, to encourage one another to take a stand in this political election, because it's very important that our voices are heard and that we make change in this time of great need for change. So that's a little commercial break in the astrology, I guess, but I would be remiss not to encourage you to vote. Then we move on, and we have another square with Mercury and Saturn, and that's on the next day after equinox, September 23rd. You want to speak to that square?
Mm-hmm. Mercury square Saturn, it's investigating this theme again of the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. Mercury is, it's the one that seeks and searches as well. It's the seeker. Mercury is a seeking energy, and it goes out, it's looking here, looking there, it's curious. And, part of this can be stop searching around everywhere and just get into what you need to be doing. Saturn is the one that says, your purpose. You know what your duties and responsibilities are. Not every one of them you might like on a personal level, but your soul says you came here to do this because these will grow you, evolve you, and share something for the collective. And sometimes Mercury is like, let's look over here instead. Let's, get busy. Let's do other things. And so it could be the dovetail where it's like, get down to work and, sit down with what it really is that you're here to do on a soul level. Or the reverse side of it is try and get away from it, trying to escape from it, try and deny it, try and get busy around it. And that's the same day as the half moon in Capricorn. So the moon's hanging out right there next to Saturn, and basically scoring Mercury as well. So it's kind of reiterating the whole thing. So you could kind of feel this on a little emotional level, like your little inner self is like, I don't want to. And your Saturn self is like, it's for the best if you do.
And remember, Saturn is karma too. It holds the energy of our karmas. So our curious self is squaring with our karmas. And karmas are good and bad. It's not just all bad karmas. But sometimes that's like that shadow work Michael was referencing earlier. I don't want to look at the shizzle that I need to clear and do in order for me to step more fully onto my path. And this Mercury square Saturn is like, no, hey, curious seeker, why don't you go ahead and go in that dark cave and look at some of the shizzle and clear it. Take care of it, reconcile it. And it's not always easy. Never really is it easy to face some of the things that we're scared of or don't want to do, but oftentimes it's not as bad as we project onto it to be. And once we get in there and start rolling up our sleeves and getting into the work, it's actually much more manageable than what we created in our mind for it to be. So that's another one on that particular day, the 23rd, is just deal with your true shizzle and don't try to run away, as Michael suggested that might be in play. Then we move on, September 24th. Now Mercury is in opposition to Mars. And that one, we use the analogy of you're sitting across the table at dinner with the opposition. That's the aspect of opposition. And sometimes dinners go really well when you're sitting across the table from somebody, and sometimes dinners go crazy because you're, eyeball to eyeball, heart to heart, looking at the matter. You don't have that ability to sidestep it, say perhaps in what a square is looking at. And so that direct opposition could pose some challenge, but it's also an opportunity to look at the stuff. So what does it mean? Well, Mars is in its home sign of Aries, and Mercury is in that sign of Libra, of balance and relationship and getting things to be sattvic or equal. And so I think it's a really good potential for you to settle some of that selfishness, controlling, fiery energy of I just want to do it my way. And your seeker, your Mercury, your intelligence is saying, or is there a way we could balance this and bring it into sattva? But just have awareness that that could be a little explosive, where you feel control issues with your own self. on the 24th. And it's an opportunity as well for you to work with and harmonize some of those control issues or assertive or aggressive issues that Mars tends to have. And remember, Mars is retrograde, so it's even more amiable for that kind of work to happen. And then we move on. Mercury again has the aspect, and it's on the 27th of September. Mercury is going to move out of Libra, that sign of relationship, balance, other, and move into Scorpio. And what do you say about Mercury and Scorpio?
You know, on some level, Mercury is kind of comfortable in Scorpio. Sometimes too comfortable, and sometimes comfortable to do some deep work. Mercury in Scorpio, Mercury can be the words that you say. Also, it's how you perceive the words you're hearing. Scorpio is about intimacy and connection and passion, intensity. So, you know, Mercury on the not so good side can lash out with the tongue or mishear things in Scorpio. But on the other side, it can be, you know, it's really intimate and sharing and cozy and merging on that side. And I said Mercury can be comfortable in Scorpio because Scorpio is the underworld, the place that represents the inner part of our soul that we can't always see. And Mercury's energy, Quicksilver in the old traditions, and representing the soul in the alchemical traditions, Mercury is the energy that's allowed to go into the underworld freely. There's no restrictions on Mercury. Mercury can go in there. So Mercury in Scorpio can be like a time to go in and, you know, do some retreat work on your soul, that shadow work that you're talking about. And it doesn't have to always be rah, tear down the house, scream, burn the fires. It can be reflective, sit down, meditate, journal, get some perspective, and then, but Mercury's gift is he can come out of the underworld. He doesn't have to stay there, and Katrina's talked about this recently. Sometimes people want to just do shadow work all the time. All the time. Sometimes it's like, come out, get some sunshine, get some vitamin D, take a swim in some water, you know, relax a little bit, and then go back in. Like, we don't always like, there's balance. It's Libra season. It's not all shadow work all the time. That's my 9 cents.
I think that's a good one. Remember, Scorpio has that little stinger here. As Michael pointed out, the words could be a little stingy, and Scorpio is also, it likes to transform energy. I don't know that we use that word. And so, much to what he's saying, when Mercury moves into Scorpio, it's a great time to really come into aha moments, like, oh, I'm bringing all this mercurial information I've been gathering in my seeking and my curiosity and my, you know, quest for knowledge about myself, and I'm bringing it into Scorpio that likes to merge it and plant it in that deep soil, the crematory of our soul, so to speak. And it could really be fertile ground for finding your meaning and finding that gift that you have and letting it merge, or emerge. That's a big part of Scorpio energy too. Remember, I said once we cross into Libra after Virgo on the astrology wheel, we get into Libra and on over clear to Pisces. This is all the other. The underneath part of the wheel is the self, and then the top 6 signs are the other. So Scorpio is still part of merging with other, taking our gift and letting us merge it as part of that, giving it away. Like, oh, I know what my gift is, and this is how it can be part of my tribe, to be useful in my tribe, for my pod, for my people, for my community. And this is what we need to be doing right now, is serving our communities with our gifts. So it's good for that. I'm excited to see Mercury going into Scorpio on the 27th.
Yay.
Then we have on the 28th of September a harmonious trine, much opposite of the last report where we had these Venus-Mars squares. Now Venus and Mars are going to be trining.
I'm looking forward to that.
That's a nice one. Yeah, over the Labor Day weekend, that was a big Venus-Mars square, and that could have been contentious or conflictual with your own masculine and feminine energies fighting, or partners or other having conflict. Well, now that Venus, Mars, or yin yang, solar, lunar, masculine, feminine energy is harmoniously trining. It's a similar kind of feel to the new moon in Virgo. That sun and moon together is like the outer expression of self and inner expression of self coming together. Mars and Venus trining is also a beautiful, harmonious energy. So you might feel a little more whole or more complete with self. And it's a good time to kind of make that bridge. Anything that's been in opposition, internally or externally, relationship-wise, you can work on that one. And on that same day of that beautiful trine between your masculine and feminine energies, Saturn goes direct. Boom! Which is a big deal. This is just like I mentioned at the beginning, these planets that have been in retrograde in Capricorn, these big three dogs that have been really governing 2020. Like the essence of 2020 is Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn. And Saturn is going to go direct. And Saturn, as we said, is justice, is karma, is laws, is duty. And it's going to be taking that drive forward. And we're going to feel this momentum. Again, with the politics changing, harness that Saturn direct and tune into what is your sense of justice. What is right way to you? What is the laws you'd like to see going into place? And harness that energy, because this is going to shape our world going forward. Of course, we know that the politics definitely shapes, but it's bigger than who's in office. This is like collective energies working together. This is how we contribute to our community. How would you like those parameters set up? Saturn direct is going to help shape that. And so tuning into that, that's Monday, September 28th. We're almost there. September 29th, we have another one of those oppositions. Opposite of the table from us is Sun and Chiron. What do you have on that?
Chiron, the wounded healer, but also called the Rainbow Bridge, and sometimes called the Master Teacher. Nice names for it all. Chiron's a dwarf planet hanging out there in the solar system. And opposite the sun, they have a picnic lunch date. They're going to sit opposite each other, and Chiron hopefully is taking the role of master teacher and healer, and the sun is your heart, self, and personality, and it's saying, what have you learned, this is Chiron talking to the sun, from your past wounds, from relationships that have gone not in right way, and when you took things personally, and what did you think about that time when you got mad and you realized you were projecting on the other person? Do you think you might have learned something about any of that? And the sun says, yeah, I've been doing some reflection during this retrograde time, and I've learned a lot. And I'm ready to heal, and now I'm ready to help give it back. The theme of our report is totally a Chiron theme. Chiron has everything to do with finding one's purpose and then giving it away. But Chiron's mechanism is helping to find your purpose through your wounds and the lessons you've learned. And so the sun is giving it away, shining it back out. And so this is the meaning of life, is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. So Chiron and the sun are having a picnic with you on Tuesday, September 29th to see if you're getting it.
It's a good way to put it. And hopefully that picnic goes well, because the other side of it is that we could really do a lot of beating ourselves up, that outward expression of ourselves. If Chiron has the strong hand, could say, you haven't been doing shizzle, and then we kind of melt and our sun gets really small. And there's potential for that, because on that same day of sun squaring Chiron is sun opposite Chiron is Mars squaring Saturn. So that's a big one. And this, we've talked about, Mars is going to square Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter 3 times during its retrograde total. And here's Saturn, it's squaring Saturn. And Saturn, laws, justice, karma, the rules about things. And Mars is your aggressor, your warrior, your fighter, your controller, and they're butting heads. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do it my way. No, my way. No, my way. And I would say Saturn wins always on that one. But we have such a strong ego. Mars is very much our I am ego. It butts up right against those karmas all the time. And we know that. It's called a samskara. We hit our head against the wall over and over, repeating patterns and patterns. So this particular square between Mars and Saturn on the 29th is an opportunity, especially with Mars still retrograde. So it's in a little bit less powerful position than when it's direct. It's a little more vulnerable, a little softer. It's a great time to start breaking some of those samskaras. Like, let those charges, those squarings, like, be that breaking of the old ways, letting go of those old beliefs, and let it be therapeutic. You know, like when you go get a massage and they're like, do you want a Swedish massage or a deep tissue? And I don't know about you, but I'm like, give it to me. Deep tissue, dig in there. Let that be the Saturn-Mars square, and let it be, you know, working out those toxic energies and getting deep into the tissues and pulling out the gunk, as opposed to letting your ego go batting heads with law and order and justice and karma. It just never will win. It just won't win. And then that takes us to the full moon.
Aries full moon on Thursday, October 1st. That will be the illumination of this whole cycle, and we'll be well into fall by then.
Yes. So take care. Happy fall when that comes about to you. We always encourage lighting a little ceremony and setting intention either on that new moon or on the actual equinox day of September 22nd.
Or Rosh Hashanah, if you...
Right, or Rosh Hashanah. And we will see you on the other side of this report in a couple of weeks. Namaste.
Namaste.